Have you ever noticed how money can feel like a maze, even though it is the one tool we use from the moment we wake up until we fall asleep? We work for it, we spend it, we try to save it, and when we finally think we understand it, the rules seem to shift under our feet. Rent creeps higher, groceries inch up. A friend lands a brilliant job with great stock options, while another friend drowns in student loans and wonders if their degree will ever pay off. For a lot of people, the word economics brings up memories of chalkboards and cold graphs that do not seem to touch real life. But economics is not far away. It is the hidden story beneath our daily choices. It is the whisper behind every yes or no at the checkout line. It is the rhythm pushing us to either chase what is urgent or build what is important. A book that brought this to life for me is How an Economy Grows and Why It Crashes by Peter D. Schiff and Andrew J. Schiff, they do something rare. They turn big ideas into a simple story. No heavy math, no gatekeeping language, just a parable about a little island, a few people, and the simple logic of survival turning into growth. I want to retell that story in my own voice, add the lessons I have learned the hard way, and trace a direct line from a net on a shoreline to the financial lives we are all trying to build in the United States today. Picture an island far from everything, 3 people live there. I will call them Adam, Frank, and Jerry. They do not have tools, they do not have boats, they do not even have hooks. Every day they wade into the surf and try to catch fish with their hands. If they are lucky, each person gets 1 fish. 1 fish is exactly what a person needs to make it through the day. Not enough for leftovers, not enough for tomorrow. Survival is the full-time job. Morning turns into afternoon, afternoon turns into evening, and there is never a moment to create anything beyond the next meal. Now think about the feeling of that rhythm. When survival takes every ounce of energy, there is no room for music, art, learning, or invention. There is no space for comfort or wonder. There is only the chase. I have had seasons like that, paycheck to paycheck. The numbers work if nothing goes wrong. Then tires flatten or a medical bill appears. Or a roommate moves out and everything snaps. Adam is wired a little differently. He is still hungry at the end of the day, but he cannot stop picturing a better life. He imagines a shelter that keeps out the rain. He imagines clothing that is not made from leaves. He imagines the time to tell stories and maybe film them if tools ever arrive. He keeps asking a question that changes everything. What would it take to buy back my time? One afternoon, with his stomach rumbling and his hands raw from chasing fish, Adam has a thought that almost feels like a joke. He could build a net. A net would mean leverage. Cast it once. Pull in more than 1 fish and keep the extra. But to build a net, he has to stop fishing for a day, maybe longer. No fishing means no food. That means real hunger. When he tells Frank and Jerry, they laugh. Why risk everything when you could guarantee a fish today by doing what you always do? They are not mean, they are practical. They have to be. Survival has a way of shrinking imagination to the size of the next hour. Adam does it anyway. He gives up a day of fishing. He gathers vines, he weaves, he tests and fails and fixes what ripped. The sun passes overhead and drops toward the horizon. He is weaker, hungrier, and very aware that this could end with nothing but a broken weave and an empty stomach. By nightfall he is exhausted, but he is holding a rough net. The next morning he walks to the shoreline with something he did not have yesterday, a chance to multiply effort. He throws the net. He pulls, stumbles, laughs out loud at what he sees, and throws again. By midday he has more fish than he needs for several days. He has done something radical. He turned time today into freedom tomorrow. The net is not only a tool, it is capital. It is the result of delayed gratification, the trade of short-term comfort for long-term capacity. I remember my first net. It did not look like one. It looked like learning to code after a long workday when my brain felt fried. It looked like weekends spent building a tiny website that earned nothing. It looked like saying no to nights out because I wanted to get through another course. I did not feel smart. I felt tired and a little foolish. But later that skill paid me in ways I could not see from the starting line. A freelance gig arrived, then a new role, then the confidence to build things of my own. Capital can look like money, but often it begins as a skill, a system, or a habit that multiplies what your hours can produce. Back on the island, Frank and Jerry watch Adam pull in fish and take breaks in the shade. They want what he has, but they face the same barrier that stood in Adam's way. To build the net, they must stop fishing, and stopping means no food. They are not lazy, they are scared. Hunger is a teacher you do not argue with. They ask Adam for help. Could he lend each of them one fish? With one fish in their belly, they could spend a day building a net without the fear of going to sleep empty. In return, they promised to repay him with more fish later. Adam thinks about it. He agrees. That moment is the birth of credit. It is the start of a small financial system. Adam accepts risk, but he also gives Frank and Jerry the chance to build their own capital. They weave nets, they try and fail and try again. They get it right, they catch more fish, they repay Adam with extra. Prosperity shows up the way it usually does, slowly and then all at once. Soon there are more nets, people have more fish than they need for the day. Someone with a knack for trust keeping and record keeping offers to hold extra fish safely. A basic bank is born. People earn a share for letting their surplus work. Loans fund better huts. A community with an actual future takes shape. The lesson is simple and strong. Wealth grows when we put it to work. Hoarding can keep you safe for a day. Investing can change a decade. Adam could have clung to his extra fish and said no to everyone. He did not. He took a measured risk. He helped others create their own capacity. In doing so, his community grew and his own position grew with it. Think about how this maps onto our lives. When a neighbor opens a small coffee shop, it looks risky. Then the shop hires a barista who pays local rent. The shop orders beans from a roaster who hires a driver. The barista meets customers who become friends and collaborators. One small net sets off a string of new nets. In the United States, the most powerful stories of growth often begin with someone who is willing to eat a humble version of dinner today so that a better version of tomorrow even has a chance. Of course, the island story does not stop there. Prosperity attracts both wisdom and folly. Some islanders begin promising returns that are too good to be true. Others borrow more than they can comfortably repay because saying no to the next hut or the next boat is hard when everyone else seems to be upgrading. Leaders try to bring order. They create standards for lending. They print claims on fish to make trade easier. Paper replaces actual fish in many transactions. At first, the change feels clever. People can trade quickly. Records are easy. But when the amount of paper claims grows faster than the fish that back those claims, prices begin to shift. Each note buys less. Inflation is not a mystery on the island. It is simply too much paper chasing too few fish. If that sounds familiar, it is because we lived versions of it. In the years leading up to the financial crisis of 2008, loans were given with weak checks. Houses rose in price far faster than incomes. People borrowed against the future. Many thought the music would never stop. When it did, the pain rippled through entire neighborhoods. Jobs disappeared. Families walked away from homes. Then more recently, after the world shut down and reopened, money flowed quickly to keep the engine from seizing. It was a humane impulse. It helped many people make it through, but when money moves faster than goods can be produced and delivered, prices shift. In 2022, many of us felt it with every cart of groceries. Economics is not a distant subject. It is the temperature in your kitchen and the number on your receipt. On the island, two ways of thinking rise to the surface. One says that markets are resilient when left alone to breathe. If lending rates rise, people will pause. If capital is scarce, it will be priced accordingly. Pain is real, but the system finds balance. The other says that without a steady hand, panic takes over. If leaders do not adjust rates or provide a cushion, people freeze, projects stall, families suffer. In How an Economy Grows and Why It Crashes, Peter D. Schiff and Andrew J. Schiff clearly favor the side that wants markets to adjust on their own. And their parable makes a strong case that too much interference can create illusions that end badly. I respect that view. I also know that families are not theories. In the real world, a job loss or an illness cannot be handled like a neat chart. The useful part for me is not picking a team. It is learning to see the trade-offs. Every action has a cost. Every rescue has a side effect. Every delay has a hidden bill. What matters for our personal lives is not which school wins a debate. What matters is whether we build a life that can stand inside whatever cycle shows up. That has been my mission since I first read the island story. Build your net, add nets when you can, lend carefully, borrow carefully. Keep your eyes on supply and demand, not just in the market for cars or homes, but in the market for your skills and your character. That idea is not abstract. It changes daily choices. If you want to build capital, you can delay gratification in visible ways. You can prepare simple meals during the week and save restaurants for a weekend treat. You can cancel one subscription and turn that money into the first brick of an emergency fund. You can decide that from 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning you will study a skill that compounds: writing, data analysis, design, public speaking. When people hear the phrase delayed gratification, they often imagine a life of endless denial. That is not the point. The point is to trade some comfort today for a kind of freedom that multiplies over years. The first dollars in an emergency fund feel small. Later, those dollars feel like breath itself. On the career side, supply and demand is a real thing. Your supply is the value you can create in a day or a week or a month. Demand is how much the world wants that value. If you are in a field where demand is rising, the tide carries you. If you are in a field where demand is shrinking, you can work just as hard and earn less than you should. That is not a moral judgment. It is a signal. When I feel that mismatch, I have to ask myself a hard question. Do I need to add a new layer to my net? Do I need to study a tool that will still matter 5 years from now? Do I need to shift from knowing a little about many things to becoming the go-to person for one problem that companies will always pay to solve? Every year I try to take inventory. What did I learn this year that will still be valuable 5 years from now? What did I learn that was only a trend? I try to double down on the first list and thank the second list for the ride. Debt is another place where the island story is bright and useful. Borrowing is not evil. Without Adam lending fish, Frank and Jerry do not build their nets. In the same way, a well-chosen student loan can unlock a profession that pays for decades. A responsible mortgage can provide stability for a family. The danger is not the existence of debt. The danger is debt that does not build capacity. If you borrow for something that does not raise your ability to earn or create, you are putting future you on a treadmill. I have done it. I have watched a balance creep up on a card because I wanted to feel good now. The relief is real for a weekend. The bill is real for many months. These days I try to ask one question before I borrow. Will this expense build a net that multiplies my time, or am I just hungry at the shoreline grabbing for a fish I will need again tomorrow? Let me be very specific for a minute. Many people in the United States carry student loans that feel like a second rent payment. If that is you, I see you. There is no magic sentence that fixes it. But there are choices that shift the weight. One useful practice is to refinance when rates move down in your favor, not to free up spending money, but to accelerate principal and shorten the life of the loan. Another is to treat any surprise income as fuel for the debt rather than a reason to expand lifestyle. When your balance moves from 5 digits to 4, your mind feels lighter in a way that is hard to describe. That mental freedom is a kind of capital on its own. Credit card debt is its own wave. The rates are often punishing. A helpful tactic is to stack a series of small wins. Pick one card with a modest balance and attack it with every extra dollar while paying minimums on the others. When that balance drops to 0, the feeling is a rush of oxygen. Roll that payment into the next card. The math is not elegant, but momentum is real, and momentum is sometimes the only way a tired mind can keep going. Savings accounts can feel thankless when rates are low, but the purpose of an emergency fund is not to impress you with growth. It is to keep you out of bad deals when life throws a curve. When my car needed a repair I did not plan for, that fund kept me from swiping a card I would regret. When a client paused a contract, that fund kept me from panicking and accepting the first offer that would have locked me into the wrong project for the wrong reasons. In those moments, a humble cash cushion is the difference between a choice and a trap. Now let us talk about dreams, because the island story invites us to dream and to keep our feet on the ground at the same time. Adam survived one day of hunger to build his net. Real dreams sometimes take years. I once quit a comfortable role to try a startup idea. I believed in it. I built quickly. I pushed hard. I also underestimated the runway I needed. Revenue took longer than my optimism predicted. The idea was good. The timing was off. I went back to freelancing with some bruises and a notebook full of lessons. The biggest one was simple. Passion without a plan breaks hearts. Courage needs a companion called prudence. These days, when a new idea catches fire in me, I ask 2 questions. How long could this reasonably take to produce steady income? And what is my plan for staying solvent and sane for that entire stretch? If I cannot answer those, I am not ready yet. That does not mean the dream dies. It means the dream goes on a training plan. The island story also reminds me that every economy rests on trust. Nets work because the community believes that the person who borrows fish will repay them. Banks work because account holders believe deposits are safe and withdrawals will be honored. The same is true at the micro level. Your personal economy runs on the trust you build with the people around you. Do you do what you say? Do you deliver when it is inconvenient? Do you tell the truth when you make a mistake? Those acts do not show up on a spreadsheet, but they turn into referrals, partnerships, and offers when you least expect them. In a noisy world, consistency is a superpower. Another thread from how an economy grows and why it crashes is that easy money can create an illusion of safety. When paper claims multiply faster than real fish, people feel wealthy without being more productive. That is a warning to all of us when we see our stock portfolio climb in a fast year. Celebrate the gain, but ask what changed underneath. Did the company you own become truly more capable, or did money simply rush into the market for a season? The best time to check your assumptions is when you feel smartest. Let me ground all of this in a single day. Imagine a person who decides that from 6 in the morning to 7 in the morning they will study a skill that raises their value. They do that 5 days a week for 1 year. That is more than 250 hours. Now imagine they take the next step and ship small projects on weekends. By the end of the year, they can show work, not just talk about it. That portfolio is a net. It catches opportunities that used to swim past unseen. The same person keeps a simple budget that moves some dollars to savings on the first day of the month, not the last. Those dollars become a cushion. The cushion becomes courage. With courage, they take a contract that pays less for a short season but puts them in a room with people who will change the next 10 years. That is an economy growing at the human scale. Sometimes I hear a pushback. What about luck? What about people starting at different points on the map? Those are fair questions. Luck is real, privilege is real, so is unfairness. The island story is not a claim that everyone gets a fair wind. It is a claim about cause and effect. If you weave a net and keep weaving nets, your odds shift. If you surround yourself with people who value building more than posturing, your odds shift again. If you take care of your body so your mind can think clearly, you stack the deck in your favor a little more. None of these erase the storms. They give you a better boat. And when the economy as a whole catches a cold, what then? The island story prepares us for that too. When money is loose and prices drift up, keep a steady hand. Do not chase every shiny object. When money tightens and friends whisper about pulling back from everything, keep building your capacity. Recessions end. Skills remain if you are able. Raise your value while others are freezing. The next expansion will feel very different if you use the quiet season to sharpen your tools. There is one more lesson I want to pull from the shoreline. Adam's courage mattered, so did his timing, so did his willingness to share. But underneath all of it was a decision to take responsibility for his outcome. Not blame, responsibility. They are not the same. Blame says everything is my fault and leaves you stuck. Responsibility says everything I do next matters and moves you forward. When I treat my finances that way, I do not spiral when a choice does not work. I adjust, I learn, I try again. The island story keeps me humble and hopeful at the same time. So where does this leave us? Here is the picture I carry. You and I are standing on our own shorelines. Some days we are splashing with bare hands, catching what we can, and that is okay. Some days we are weaving a net that looks ugly and feels slow. Some days we are lending a fish to someone else so they can build. Some days we are paying back a fish with gratitude because someone believed in us. This is the flow of a healthy life. Save and invest when you can. Borrow with a clear plan and a clear end. Learn skills that compound. Tell the truth. Keep your promises. Build with people who do the same. And when you feel the urge to spend because a hard day made you tired, remember the long view. Remember Adam. Remember the first throw of the net and the feeling of pulling in more than you need. If you want a simple starting ritual, try this. Tonight, write down one net you will weave over the next 3 months. Make it small enough to finish and big enough to matter. It could be building a sample project in your field. It could be completing a certification that will still be valuable 5 years from now. It could be setting aside a specific dollar amount each week to seed an emergency fund. Then choose one place to borrow less from the future. Maybe it is canceling a subscription you barely use and sending that money to your smallest debt. Maybe it is moving a balance to a lower rate and locking a plan to close it within a year. Finally, choose one way to grow the trust in your circle. Show up early. Deliver a little more than promised. Write a thank you note after a meeting. These are small moves. They are also nets. When I step back and look at the whole arc of how an economy grows and why it crashes by Peter D. Schiff and Andrew J. Schiff, what stays with me is not only the argument about policy. What stays is the clarity of cause and effect. When we create capital by delaying gratification, our capacity expands. When we share wisely through lending and investing, our community expands. When we print claims faster than we grow real output, prices get weird and trust erodes. When we try to erase pain entirely, we often set up a bigger pain later. None of this requires a doctorate to grasp. It requires the courage to admit how the world works and the humility to act on it day after day. That is my invitation to you and to myself. Build a life that can breathe in any weather. Build capital that is not only measured in dollars, but also in skills, relationships, and a reputation for doing the right thing when no one is watching. Build a margin of safety so that your boldness is not a one-day sprint but a long run, and build a dream that is big enough to change you as you chase it. There is joy on the other side of the grind. There is art and rest and generosity. There is room to become the person you were hoping to be when you first walked into the water. So let me leave you with a question. The same one I ask myself when I feel overwhelmed by headlines or by my own bank balance. What is the next net you will weave, and when will you throw it for the first time? Decide that, write it down, and start. If you need a time to begin, choose tomorrow morning at 7 and treat that hour like a sacred appointment with your future. If this spoke to you, please give it a like, subscribe for more weekly insights, and share it with a friend who is on this journey with you. Thank you for spending this time here with me. I appreciate you more than you know. I will see you in the next video.